Get out, parasite. After 10 years of enduring my mother's abuse, I've had enough. I'm divorcing you.
His sudden words left me stunned. Was he calling me a parasite? That's such a horrible thing to say. Then his mother chimed in, her voice full of anger. Pay back all the money you've cost us and get out. I had no intention of asking for alimony in this divorce. I just wanted to end things peacefully. But hearing her say that made me realize how much I had endured all these years. I couldn't take it anymore. So I decided to take action. When they learned the shocking truth, both Mike and his mother collapsed to their knees. My name is Sarah. I'm 36 years old and currently live with my husband Mike, who is 2 years younger than me, and my mother-in-law Lisa. I met Mike at work. He was a new hire at the company where I worked. Despite being new, Mike easily handled difficult tasks, and I found myself falling for him. I had never been the type to approach men, but Mike was different. I wanted to know more about him, so I started talking to him more and going out for drinks together. Before long, we became a couple and started living together. Every day with Mike was nothing but happiness. That happiness only grew when he proposed to me. Of course, I said yes. We got married and began our life together, planning to build a happy home. Little did I know that hellish days awaited me.
Hey, starting next week, my mom is moving in with us.
His sudden announcement caught me off guard. What? Isn't that a bit too soon? I loved my husband and wanted to support him in any way I could, but I couldn't understand why we were moving in with his mom after he had promised to build a new life with just the two of us. Mike explained sternly.
My mom raised me all by herself. Who else is going to take care of her, if not me? You know she has bad legs, right? She's been having more trouble lately, and I'm worried about her living alone.
I knew that Mike's parents had divorced when he was young and his mom raised him and his brother alone. I also lost my father to illness to a young age, so I understood Mike's feelings. With no room to argue, I reluctantly agreed to let his mom move in. Mike started packing our things right away.
The house isn't very big, so we can't bring much stuff.
I packed our belongings as compactly as possible and we moved into his mom's place. The house was a small apartment, just as Mike had said. Despite my worries, I was hopeful about starting a new life. But as soon as I walked through the door, I realized things wouldn't go so smoothly. Welcome to my home. It's hot outside, isn't it? Come in and have something cold to drink. She didn't even look at me and instead helped Mike with his bags.
Mom, you shouldn't strain yourself with your bad legs.
Ignoring me, she handed me my bags and helped her son. I'm sorry for causing you so much worry. Mike's bags go in the back room and your things go in the front room. I wondered why we were putting our things in separate rooms, but I didn't think much of it at the time. I did as I was told and returned to the living room, where Mike and his mom were chatting happily at the table. I wanted to sit with them, but there were only 2 chairs, and nothing had been set up for me. So I knelt on the floor near the table. I figured there were only 2 chairs because his mom had been living alone for so long. I stood up to get myself a drink, since it was such a hot day. But I hesitated, thinking it would be rude to help myself without asking. I politely asked, "Is it okay if I get something to drink?" Her response was unexpected. "There are paper cups in that drawer. You can use those and drink tap water." I was puzzled. Mike and his mom were drinking cold iced tea from glasses, but she expected me to drink tap water from a paper cup? Was she already starting to treat me poorly because I was the daughter-in-law? I brushed off the thought and did as she said. As I sat on the floor drinking tap water, Lisa said something shocking. "Since you're here now, you can make dinner. I'll take a break, and Mike can lie down, because he must be tired too." I couldn't believe my ears. Was she really expecting me to cook by myself? I was just as tired as Mike, but I figured I had to listen to her since I was the daughter-in-law. Then she dropped another bombshell. "Mike will sleep in the back room, and you can use the front room off the living room." What? I was shocked. Did she really expect us as a married couple to sleep in separate rooms? I looked at Mike for support, but he just shrugged and started nodding in agreement with his mom.
Mom's right. It's better this way.
I was stunned. The man I thought would be my greatest ally was siding with his mother. "Mike, let's go out to eat. I'm not eating this garbage. There's a new sushi place nearby."
Sure, let's go.
They left and I sat alone at the table eating the food I had made. I wondered if she had planned to eat out all along since she was fully dressed and wearing makeup. The tears flowed freely as I realized how I had been mistreated. I couldn't believe Mike didn't stand up for me. How could I ever be happy living here? As I was lost in thought, the doorbell rang. I wiped my tears and rushed to open the door. To my surprise, it was Mike's older brother, James. He looked at me curiously.
What's wrong? Did something happen?
No, nothing. What brings you here today? He showed me a cake box he was holding.
I heard you moved in, so I brought a housewarming gift.
Thanks. I let James in, and he was surprised to see the spread of food on the table.
Wow, that's quite a feast. I never knew you could cook like this. It looks delicious.
James said the food looked good, even though Mike and his mom had said it looked awful. He looked confused, seeing me cry. Actually, James was a classmate of mine in high school. We bonded over both losing our fathers, and we became close friends. I was shocked when I found out I was marrying into his family.
Why are you crying all of a sudden?
I told him everything. James sighed and began to share a truth I hadn't known.
I was married last year, but I got divorced quickly. It was because of Mom. My wife couldn't stand the way she treated her, so we ended up getting divorced.
I was speechless. I had heard that James had been married before, but never knew the reason for his divorce. I wiped my tears and handed him a fork. This food will go to waste, so why don't you help me eat it? James happily ate the food I had made.
This is delicious. Mom and Mike are crazy for not eating it. If you ever need to talk, I'm here for you.
James left after leaving the cake on the table. Thanks to him, I felt a bit better. I decided to eat some of the cake while waiting for Mike and his mom to return. The cake had enough slices for everyone, but I took one for myself. James had picked a strawberry cake with fresh cream, knowing I didn't like chocolate. As I enjoyed the cake, I heard voices at the door. Mike and his mom had finally come back.
The sushi was delicious. We should go again.
Yeah, let's do that.
Then his mom noticed the food still on the table.
The food is still out. You should throw it away since no one is going to eat it.
I couldn't believe she would say such a thing about the food I had worked so hard to make. Mike said, with his shoulders slumped.
Thanks for cooking. I appreciate it.
His word meant nothing to me at this point. As I started clearing the table, his mom said something unbelievable.
It's unfair that you ate cake by yourself. Why didn't you think of others?
This is the moment I realized she was the selfish one, not me. James brought the cake. There's more in the fridge, so feel free to have some. I began cleaning up. From that day on, my life became a living hell. Before getting married, Mike had asked me to quit my job and become a housewife. So I did, but now I was stuck doing all the housework for Lisa. It was overwhelming, and when I asked Mike for help, he just laughed it off.
Mom has bad legs, so it's only natural for the housewife to do all the work.
Even though his mom had lived alone before moving in with us, she never lifted a finger to help. I begged her to share the chores, but she wouldn't even listen. She criticized everything I did.
You're not doing the laundry correctly. Do it over.
I had no choice but to redo it the way she wanted. She even criticized my cooking, though she never helped.
Ugh, this tastes awful. Make it again.
I had to redo meals multiple times until she was satisfied. As the daughter-in-law, I had no choice but to obey. Mike saw everything but never stood up for me. He was completely on his mom's side. The only person who supported me was James. After seeing me cry that day, James started visiting whenever Mike and his mom were out. James had distanced himself from the family after his divorce because he blamed his mom, and Mike took her side. But now he was worried I'd become the next victim, so he checked in on me whenever he could. Talking to him made me feel less alone. 10 years passed in the blink of an eye, and things only got worse. The way Mike's mom treated me became more unbearable. One day I decided to talk to Mike and his mom about something important. I want to go to nursing school. I've always wanted to help people, and I won't neglect my household duties. I had dreamed of becoming a nurse before getting married. For the past 10 years, I have been so busy with housework that I almost gave up on my dream, but I couldn't let it go, so I decided to ask them. I was confident that I could handle both school and housework, but their response was unexpected.
Are you crazy? At your age, you'll never get into nursing school. And how do you plan to pay for it?
I expected them to say that, but I had a surprise for them. Actually, I've already been accepted into nursing school. I'm going to use the money my father left me so I won't be a burden. They both looked shocked.
You never told us your dad left you money.
I didn't think it was necessary to mention it. Their faces darkened.
I don't care if you've been accepted. I'm not letting you go. If you want to go that badly, do it in your next life. Now give us your dad's money.
What? I couldn't believe she wanted to take my father's money from me. That money is important to me. I'm not giving it to you. I left the room and continued with the housework. Telling them about nursing school was a mistake. How could I have married into this family? I regretted marrying Mike and decided it was time to leave. I couldn't live with Mike and his mom any longer without losing my sanity. I had to get away from them. The next day I handed Mike the divorce papers. He took them without saying a word. I can't do this anymore. I want a divorce. His face remained expressionless, and he simply said,
Fine, I'll file the papers.
Then he went back to his room. After 10 years together, he didn't even try to stop me. I realized then that I had no attachment to this house. I was just another woman to him. I couldn't stand it any longer. I packed a few clothes and left the house. I went to my mother's place and told her everything. I decided to stay with her for a while. At first, I wasn't sure if I had made the right decision, but living without Mike and his mom was so freeing. I realized how much they had controlled my life. A few days later, I received a call from Mike saying the divorce was final. I felt a sense of relief, knowing I could finally start over. But first, I had to go back and get the things I had left behind. I dreaded going back, but I had no choice. When I arrived, Mike's mom answered the door with a scowl. I told her I was there to pick up my things. She sighed, but let me in. I went to my room and opened the dresser where I had hidden something important, but it was gone. I was sure I had put it there. I searched frantically, but couldn't find it. Panic set in, and I shouted, "Excuse me, do you know what happened to the money I had in here? It was the inheritance my father had left me. I planned to use it for nursing school." Mike and his mom exchanged smug looks. I had a bad feeling about this.
We used that money because we've let you live here all these years.
I was stunned. No, that money was left to me by my father, I shouted, gathering all my strength.
Too bad, it's already gone, and there's nothing you can do about it. We were thinking of buying a new car, so thanks for that.
I was speechless. Mike then yelled at me.
How long are you planning to stay here? We're divorced now, so you're just a parasite. Get out!
Was he really calling me a parasite? That was too much. Then his mom added her own insults.
Pay back all the money we spent on you. You've been living off us all this time.
But didn't you just use my dad's inheritance to buy a new car? Her face turned beet red at my words.
That's different. You're so shameless to think it's the same. We've put up with you long enough, so it's only fair.
Why should I have to pay them? I felt a surge of anger like an electric shock through my body.
Since you were the one who asked for the divorce, we're not paying any alimony.
I had no intention of asking for alimony. I just wanted to end things peacefully. But now I couldn't believe what I was hearing. After everything I had endured, they even took my father's inheritance. I couldn't take it anymore. Fine, I'll pack my things and leave. I pretended to pack while secretly calling someone. I wasn't going to let them get away with this. A few minutes later, the doorbell rang. Mike's mom got up with a scowl.
Who could it be at such a busy time?
When she opened the door, she was surprised to see James standing there in his police uniform. Yes, James was a police officer. He looked at me and said,
I'm here to pick you up. There's a car waiting outside.
He took my bags, and Mike's eyes widened in shock.
What's going on? Why is James here to pick you up? Aren't you on duty?
Sarah, you're shameless for involving James in this. How could you use him like this?
He took a deep breath and said,
This is part of my job.
What? She's using you, James. Wake up.
My brother's job is to pick up my ex-wife? That's ridiculous. Do some real police work and go catch criminals.
Yes, stop wasting time here and go catch bad guys.
He looked serious as he said,
That's exactly why I'm here. To catch criminals.
What are you talking about? There are no criminals here.
There are 2 criminals right in front of me.
Their faces turned pale as they realized he was talking about them.
You're making it sound like we did something wrong.
Didn't you?
I nodded. You stole my money. It was my father's inheritance. Mike started laughing.
We didn't steal anything. Even if we did, you can't prosecute family members.
I couldn't help but laugh at his ignorance.
What's so funny? You're trying to make us the villains, but it won't work. I studied law in college, so I know the police can't get involved in family disputes. You're the one who doesn't know anything.
Yeah, Sarah doesn't have the brains to understand that.
I decided to set the record straight. What are you talking about? We're not family anymore. We're divorced and living separately. We're strangers now. James raised his voice to back me up.
Since the divorce is finalized, you both can be prosecuted for theft. You're looking at up to 10 years in prison or a fine of up to $50,000.
They both started to panic, their earlier arrogance gone.
Arrested? How could this happen? Sarah, you're not serious, right?
I'm dead serious. Stealing is a crime. We learned that as kids, didn't we? Lisa started crying.
Come on, Sarah. Can't you forgive us? Mom's crying.
He spoke as if it didn't concern him, as if he wasn't also guilty. You're just as guilty as she is. Don't forget that the car you bought was with my money. I know because one of your friends told me. The purchase was made the day after our divorce was finalized. Mike started trembling at my words.
How can I avoid getting arrested? If I get arrested, I'll lose my job. The only way is if Sarah drops the charges.
Lisa suddenly changed her tone.
Sarah, I'm really sorry for everything. I'm sure we can work things out and have a good relationship.
I couldn't believe what I was hearing. We're strangers now. There's no need for a relationship. Mike said something even more ridiculous.
Yeah, we used to get along well. Let's start over. Let's give it another try.
I couldn't believe my ears. I had to speak up. What are you talking about? I have no love left for you. There's no way we're getting back together. If you don't want to be prosecuted, then pay back the money you took. Lisa turned to Mike and said,
I think she's serious. We'll have to pay her back. You've been saving up, right? You have the money, don't you?
Mike's face turned sour, and there was a long silence. James then dropped a bombshell.
Of course he doesn't have the money. He spent it on his mistress. If he had the money, he wouldn't have needed to buy a car with Sarah's money.
Lisa looked shocked, clearly unaware.
How do you know about that? You were walking around town with your mistress in broad daylight. It was hard to miss, especially when you went into a luxury brand store together.
Mike was too stunned to respond. How could you say you want to start over with me when you've been lying to me this whole time? I had known about his affair for a year. James had spotted him while on patrol and reported it to me. After the initial shock wore off, I stopped caring. When Mike's mom heard this, she exploded in anger.
How could you do this, Mike? That savings included my retirement money.
Mike was now being blamed by everyone. I had nothing left to say to him. Mike and his mom collapsed to their knees, speechless. James put me in his patrol car, and the three of us were taken to the police station for questioning. My questioning was brief, but they spent the entire day being interrogated. It turned out there were more crimes they had committed, including scamming multiple women out of money. I knew Mike had a mistress, but never imagined he was conning other women. He even spent the stolen money on another mistress. I had always known Mike was selfish, but I felt truly sorry for the women who had been hurt by him. After that, I agreed to a settlement with Mike and his mom, including repayment of the stolen money and alimony for the affair. They both signed the agreement, closing the chapter of my life. But even though I forgave them, society did not. Mike's affair and theft were exposed at his company, and he was forced to quit. Now he spends his days at home, playing video games, a shadow of his former self. His mom, needing money, started working, but her bad legs made it difficult to keep a job. What goes around comes around, I thought. Now they would experience the suffering I had endured all these years. As for me, I finally enrolled in nursing school after the divorce. It's not easy pursuing my dream at this age, but I'm determined to make it happen. James and I still keep in touch. Since that day, he cut ties with Mike and his mom and stayed by my side to help me heal. I can't get back the 10 years I lost, but I'm sure the next 10 years will be brighter. I'm going to move forward and live a happy life.